So now the Democrats are trying to figure out what their pathway forward looks like. The obvious pathway forward for them is to jettison the identity politics. Politico is speculating that they might actually have to do just that. Piece in Politico by Jonathan Martin, their senior political columnist, quote, Democrats wonder, are we too correct? The depth of the 2024 defeat brings tough questions about a base built around identity groups. He says that the party might need an opening to rethink their orientation around affinity group politics. The question is whether they'll be emboldened or cower when one of those groups, as identity-based organizations are invariably called, speak up. But the reward is alluring. Whoever can retain the party's traditional commitments to the most vulnerable and also appeal to voters who just rejected Harris will emerge as the Democrats' strongest 2028 nominee and perhaps the next president. But again, the question is going to be whether they are actually able to wake up to that. So long as people, for example, like Joy Reid are out there, the answer will be no. Joy Reid over at MSNBC, she just gets more and more racist day in and day out. It's amazing.
Y'all listen to this.
Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
So in other words, reparations for white people. Any comments on that, Trump likes?
That is not reparations for white people. That is people who are victimized by affirmative action policies that kept them out of colleges, for example. Okay, but again, keep doubling down on the racism. Please, just keep on doing it. Folks, using the internet without ExpressVPN is like leaving your keys in the car while you run into the gas station for a quick snack. Most of the time, totally fine. But what if you come back outside and somebody is just driving off in your car? You know what's absolutely insane? The fact that the radical left wants to track everything you do online. Big tech, big government, yes, even that teenager at your local coffee shop with a laptop, they can all spy on your personal data. I mean, everything, your passwords, banking information, personal messages, all of it. Let me tell you something, folks. I've been using ExpressVPN for years because I understand that privacy isn't just a right, it's a necessity. The left wants to cancel anybody who doesn't conform to their worldview. That's one of the reasons I protect my online activity. Well, here's the fact. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to crack ExpressVPN's encryption. That's longer than AOC's Green New Deal would take to bankrupt America, for sure. Here's what's great about ExpressVPN. You don't need a degree in computer science to use it. One click, that's it. It works on all your devices, phones, tablets, laptops, everything. Unlike government programs, it actually does what it promises. Let me be clear, this isn't just about privacy. Hackers can make up to $1,000 selling your personal information on the dark web. That's your money, your identity at risk. Right now, take advantage of ExpressVPN's Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer. Get the absolute best VPN deal you'll find all year. Scan that QR code on screen, click the link in the description, visit expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. By visiting my special link, you'll get 4 extra months with the 12-month plan or 6 extra months with the 24-month plan, totally free. Again, that's expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. Get an extra 4 or even 6 months of ExpressVPN for free. expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. Well, meanwhile, the attacks on Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense nominee by President Trump, those continue. Whoopi Goldberg thinks she can get out of this simply by mocking Pete Hegseth. You know, I don't think this is going to work.
He also picked, you ready? Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Not even like regular. Weekend. Pete Hegseth? Hegseth?
Yeah.
Okay, Pete Hegseth. And he's picked him to be U.S. Secretary of Defense. Now, MAGA supporters and detractors are trying to figure out, what? Because of this pick.
No, we're not. We know exactly why that pick was made. In fact, it turns out that the threats that we face are going to be amply faced down by Pete Hegseth. Mike Gallagher, former representative from Wisconsin, who I very much hope will be in consideration for Secretary of the Navy because he's tremendously knowledgeable and he's a real hawk on China, like a super China hawk, super bright guy. He has a piece in the Wall Street Journal titled "Pentagon Has 2 Years to Prevent World War III." He says Xi Jinping has ordered the People's Liberation Army to be ready to seize Taiwan by 2027. Whether he launches an invasion may depend on President Trump's defense secretary. If confirmed by the Senate, Army National Guard veteran and Fox News host Pete Hegseth, Mr. Trump's nominee, will have to confront the collapse of deterrence in Europe and the Middle East, resource constraints on Capitol Hill, recruitment challenges, and a deteriorating balance of power in the Indo-Pacific. The only way to promote peace is to go to war on day one, not with China, Russia, or Iran, but with the Pentagon bureaucracy. The first task is to fix the U.S. Navy. America needs a maritime industrial base that can counter China's. Pentagon requirements for building maritime assets involve too many uncoordinated stakeholders. The Pentagon establishes war-fighting requirements, such as the number of missiles on a ship, without regard to interdependent technical specifications, such as that ship's center of gravity. When those technical specs aren't tightly linked to war-fighting requirements, the mismatch can cause underperformance or unplanned costs and time. The DoD should return to a board model that served the Navy well until the 1960s. The Navy should also create an office focused on expediting the development and deployment of certain war-fighting technologies, similar to the Rapid Capabilities Office at the Air Force or Space Force. And again, he has all sorts of suggestions like this, and I think that Pete Hegseth is going to not only take those suggestions, he will do more than that. He's going to be fighting the wokeness in the military. He is not concerned with a military that is focused on the sexual diversity of its membership. He's more concerned about whether they are good at, killing bad people. That is the thing that he is mostly concerned about, the efficacy of the American military. Hegseth has said, China is building an army to defeat America. We need to build an army to defeat them.
China's building an army specifically dedicated to defeating the United States of America. That is their strategic outset. Take hypersonic missiles. So if our whole power projection platform is aircraft carriers and the ability to project power that way strategically around the globe, and yeah, we have a nuclear triad and all of that, but a big part of it. And if 15 hypersonic missiles can take out our 10 aircraft carriers in the first 20 minutes of a conflict, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I mean, and if they've already got us by the balls economically, which you pointed out very well, with our grid, culturally, there's plenty of elite capture going on around the globe. I mean, and then microchips and everything. Why do they want Taiwan? They want to corner the market completely on the technological future. We can't even drive our cars without the stuff we need out of China these days. I mean, they have a full spectrum, long-term view of not just regional but global domination, and we have our heads up our asses.
Okay, he is right about all of that. Again, this is the person who's apparently too ignorant to be the Secretary of Defense. He's also getting hit over the course of the last 24 hours because someone surfaced a clip of him saying that women shouldn't be fighting in combat roles. Again, why is that controversial? Really, why should young women be fighting in frontline combat roles? Does that make sense to anybody? Why? There are plenty of able-bodied men to do that.
Straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women and they're great. It just, our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable.
And so he is not wrong about any of that. Again, if this is the controversial stuff about him, I'm not really seeing it. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.